Okay, webinar is being recorded. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. This is Explore the Healthcare and Science Career Field Chat. We have 3 employers from 3 different organizations on our virtual panel today. And yeah, so my name is Marlena. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a career counselor in CLA Career Services. And I'll be moderating our session today. And the goal of the session is so that you can explore the industry of healthcare and science and to connect with employers who are in this field. So our panelists will speak from their personal career journey as well as offer suggestions on how you can prepare for this industry. I also want to acknowledge that industries are broad and offer various opportunities within the different career fields that exist. And so an example is, so within healthcare and science, we offer, there are opportunities for direct patient care experience to healthcare administration, to laboratory science, public health, and that's just to name a few. And so today we will, the half hour that we have together will be focused more broadly on healthcare and science. I want to thank our panelists for being here because without them, we would not be able to have this conversation. And so why don't you introduce your name, your role, your organization, and what you studied in college? Let's start with David.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Marlena. First off, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to the conversation. But my name is David Shrum. I work for a company called Amplifone. We are actually the parent company of what is a little better known here in the United States as Miracle-Ear. We're in the hearing care field, and so solely focus on kind of the distribution of hearing aids to those experiencing hearing loss. We're a global organization found in 26 different countries. I am the talent acquisition manager for our North American headquarters that's based here in downtown Minneapolis. Oversee a team of anywhere between about 4 to 7 individuals. And I think you said, what did I study in college?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a public health major, or community health was actually my specific title.
Nice, thank you.
And I'm Brianna Pulkey. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I work with ACR Homes. If you're not familiar with us, we are a group home company that cares for people who have disabilities in houses throughout the Twin Cities. We're actually a local organization, so we have about 50 homes in the Twin Cities, many being close to campus. We started in the 1980s and are still owned by the same family that started the company, and it's just a privilege to work in patient care, caring for their different needs. I am one of the senior recruiting supervisors. I've been on the team for, it'll be 11 years coming up pretty soon here. So I've been with ACR for quite a while. As you guys will hear about a little bit later, kind of what led us into our fields. I'm actually a little bit of an outlier when it comes to healthcare. I went to North Central University in Minneapolis, and I actually studied music and theology. But that passion for using my music to make a difference in people's lives actually led me to healthcare as well, because I just care about people. And so since then, I've moved from being one of our patient care staff to being a house manager, and now have been working in recruiting and marketing for the last almost 8 years. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Dr. Bryant is running a little bit late, so we'll introduce Dr. Bryant later. But we did have EPA, a scribing organization that had signed up to participate in this conversation today. Well, thank you Michael is, hi, Michael. Oh, hi, Michael. Okay, Michael, let me make you promote to panelist. There we go. Okay. Okay, Michael's here. Thank you for your patience, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Bryant. I'm an emergency physician. I work for a group called Emergency Physicians Professional Association. I've been in medicine for just about 20 years. I'm in my 18th year. And I'm also the director of the EPA Scribe program, which provides pre-med students an opportunity to work alongside of physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician's assistants at the bedside. And I've been the director of that program since I started it in 2006. And just a privilege to be able to mentor and care for patients at the same time. Currently, we have about 385 pre-medical, pre-health students across the Twin Cities in St. Cloud. I majored in biology from Bethel, and I call that the softball easy entrance into medicine. I know I want to go into medicine. I'm not sure what to do, so I chose biology.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I asked that question because, you know, sometimes, you know, a lot of our students right now are exploring majors and careers, and like, what can they do with their major if they have a career in mind? What should they study if they have a specific career in mind? So I think it was just important to really highlight that so that they can see just the diversity of academics that sometimes would translate to various careers. So Grace, I'll stop sharing my screen and we can dive in because I know we have 20 minutes left here in our conversation. So the first question I have is, you know, what are key things that you think define this career field and those interested in it? And you can speak from the perspective of, you know, your work and your role at your current position, as far as like, what are some key things that really define healthcare and science?
I'll jump in first. We'll go reverse order. As an emergency physician, what defines healthcare for me is meeting people in their crisis, resolving people's fears. I actually don't fix a lot of things as an emergency physician, but what I do is address people's fears. And people are fear of dying, of having cancer, of being unhealthy. And so one of the things that I would recommend preparing is communication. I say the difference between a good and great doctor isn't your ability to get the right answer. That's a given. That's what school teaches you. It's your ability to communicate that. And things that students can do who are pursuing medicine, because medicine's so broad. I mean, a pathologist is vastly different from me. Emergency physicians are what we call the adrenaline junkies. Like when a lot of people run from a burning building, we run to the burning building. You know, for the last 2 years, we've been running to COVID. We don't run from COVID. And so, but there's room in medicine that's so vast. And I'd say a desire to learn continuously, a desire to put other people in front of yourself and to become the best listener possible. The best physicians, the best humans, but the best physicians are the best listeners. And I think that's being in medicine for 20 years. That's the difference. I become an expert listener.
I can go next. I feel like healthcare and science as it relates to ACR, just naturally being a healthcare provider for people with disabilities, we attract students that are interested in any type of health field. Really, I feel like you encompassed it, Michael, with the communication. Along with that, it's just funny because I find myself going towards more of the soft skills rather than the technical skills when I think about defining features, because the technical skills are all things that you can actually train into people, and people can learn that if they have a certain ability level, but you really can't. You can't train it into somebody to have the empathy and the caring heart and maybe the responsibility to uphold all of what healthcare requires of them, along with those communication skills as well. You know, it's easy to rattle off a list of things that could easily define healthcare. We all know that we're doing patient care, we're doing charting, we might take vitals, we might work with medical equipment or administer medication. But at the end of the day, I think what defines it is that person-to-person communication as well, and the ability to just care about others and make sure that they are at the center of what you're doing. So.
I think that's actually a great answer, just kind of honing in on the communication piece of all of this. I think you'd be hard pressed to find an industry or a specific job in which communication is not really at the core of maybe what sets the person who's okay at it and gets by on a day-to-day to the person who, you know, can really excel. Expert communicators are really able to take that skill and run with it. So for me specifically to answer this question, I do think that yes, the communication is absolutely important. I think some of the things that define what I do, so HR and even specifically talent acquisition, is variety. You know, I can take this and work really in any field. Healthcare specifically, if we whittle it down to that, has so many different areas that I could go. I work in a pretty unique kind of area specific to hearing care. So I work with a lot of audiologists and hearing care professionals, but also have the shared services that work in the background with the marketing, the IT, the finance, and in talent acquisition, you have your part with bringing all of those folks into the team and into that company that helps make it a great place to be. So I would specifically say, with HR and talent acquisition, it's the variety. You can take those skills and really go anywhere with them.
Thank you so much. I love the diverse perspectives in each of your unique roles and how you approach your work and the services that you offer within healthcare. And in CLE Career Services, we talk a lot about core career competencies and how a lot of what our students are learning in the classroom, it does translate into the world of work, and that communication piece really comes up a lot. So thank you for that. So my next question here is, why are you interested in healthcare and science, and how were you introduced to it? Start with Brianna, and then David, and then Michael.
Sure. Well, so how I ended up being introduced, I said, a music major at North Central University, ACR Homes actually did quite a bit of recruitment on my campus. And I had a friend that was a nursing major that was working at ACR. And the thing that she would always do was come home and talk about the amazing experiences that she would have from her shifts of caring for our residents with disabilities. And so I truly just got into it for a passion of people, which I think that can translate into so many different career fields. But I just wanted to have a college job that made a difference in someone's life, that had value and meaning, even at an entry level. And little did I know it would eventually translate into a career, in human resources and also in marketing with ACR Homes, where I feel like now, even though my job isn't directly related to healthcare anymore, I'm not the one doing the patient care, I'm able to support the mission and the vision and support our residents and provide for them in a totally different way by accurately representing our company and finding more great employees to care for the residents. So it's been a really big privilege to work in healthcare, and I realized this is definitely my niche, and I really wouldn't want to work in another industry. At the end of the day, healthcare it's always going to be around, and it really makes a huge difference in people's lives. So.
I have a feeling my answer might diverge a little bit from the other two panelists. I was drawn to healthcare because within talent acquisition, I do feel good about the work that our organization does each and every day, and that certainly helps. I've worked in many different industries, however. What I was drawn to was a lot of specifics about the organization specifically that were really intriguing to me. But I think, overall, I do feel good that, when we hire people into any one of our clinics, those folks are really the ones doing the work and meeting face-to-face with our patients and our clients. But in some small way, me and HR, have a hand in that at least. So that certainly has a big piece of it. Absolutely.
I was drawn to medicine for people who put time into me. I believe everyone sort of has an origin story or a superhero story, and it's your job to find it. My dad died in a car accident when I was 7, and a series of circumstances went together. I'm a faith-based guy, and so I was like, I'm called on to give my best, whatever that field is. And I found myself attracted more and more to people in crisis because I had been through crisis. And medicine is often a crisis for people. I think not everyone can do medicine. Not everyone has the certain aptitudes. You could be a gifted communicator, but if you can't process the information, you really become well, more in marketing. Like, you could be given the information and then talk about it, but without the technical expertise. And for me, I wanted to do something that showed I gave my very best effort, and was challenged every day to give my best effort to people in a way that would add value to them. relieve their fear in crisis. And so it's just, I woke up 15 years into this career and going, wait a second, I'm in the emergency department. Like it finally clicked. Like I didn't realize why I was going the direction I was necessarily going. I sought it out to do my very best, to help as many people as possible. And then it was really a result of what people had invested in me, a critical care specialist, an orthopedic surgeon, a pediatrician, just people who showed that service aspect that combined the know-it-all, sort of not to be too much of a narcissist, but like I have all this ability. How could I not waste it? I have to make sure I give the best. And that's what you want to do, is find that sweet spot where you're giving your best. You're not overwhelmed, but you're challenged every day. Challenged, and sometimes the challenge isn't figuring out what's wrong. It's extracting the information from someone or communicating or responding in that crisis. But for me, like diagnosing a heart attack, it's harder for me to brush my teeth proper than to find out if someone has a heart attack. I'm so good at that. But can I relieve the patient's fear that they're going to die immediately? Do I know all the players involved? What's the ethical situation behind it? And so attracted to medicine was that ability to encompass all that. To yes, communication is universal. Like, yeah, I could go into business. That'd be pretty good because I've honed these skills that people need in business at the bedside under crisis. Just one comment about, since for scribes will work alongside of physicians, and it's an apprenticeship type thing where you learn to think and act like a provider. And so for people who might be on this call, think, okay, well, he hasn't said anything about the scribing part of it. So think about a court reporter meets a translator, meets a personal assistant. That's what a scribe is. They have to get all the data that a court reporter would, but then filter out all the noise that we wouldn't want in the chart, and then combine that with, hey, Dr. Bryant, I know you need this next thing next. Here, it's ready for you. And so you're immersed in that, in an experience that's different than providing bedside care like ACR Homes. I recommend that type of environment for people on a certain path, but it's different. It really is technical expertise in the realm of nursing care versus technical expertise in the area of processing the communication of the medical expertise. A lot of my employees work at ACR Homes as well. So sorry, Brianna, to speak a little bit out of turn, but the Nelsons are also personal friends of mine. And so I have some connection to that as well.
That's great.
Small community.
Yeah.
Big field, but you can just see just how small the community can be. I mean, ACR Homes and EPA is in our backyard. So if Minnesota is home for those in Twin Cities.
Good point.
We do have some great questions here that from our attendees. So I do want to be mindful of and really engage with them too. Is so the first question here is, how would you recommend selling your, was this the first one? Yeah. How would you recommend selling your skills to a recruiter if I have a major that is not related to healthcare or science, in my case, history, but have an interest in pursuing this field? That question is also in the chat too, so if you want to look at it again, maybe I feel like Brianna, you'd be a good person to answer this too, and so we can popcorn this.
Yeah, I was going to say, just kind of like one of my first responses, I would say focus in on initially the soft skills that you possess that would make you a great candidate for healthcare, possibly for a patient care or scribe position. And then I would take a look at your resume and think what skills translate from one career to the next. Just how Michael was saying, you can be a provider, some of those same skills could also make you successful in business. And so take a look at what you've done in the past, even if it doesn't seem like it relates, and figure out a way, look at job descriptions of what you want to be someday and figure out some key things that match up from what you've done to what you want to be, and start gaining experience. That's the number one thing I can say is, coming to a session like this is a really awesome first step for you, whether you end up doing patient care, scribing, or anything like that. Starting to get some experience is really going to set you on a path of success towards the future career goal you have, even if you didn't start out in a major that necessarily relates.
I'm just going to popcorn on that. The second question there was, how do you define success in your career field? is really how you would answer that first question if you don't have the prototypical, wherever that may be. And I would tell you in healthcare, don't be discouraged by any path to healthcare. Your path is your path. If you have a passion, you follow it. But when you define what a successful physician looks like, a successful technologist, a successful business entrepreneur, and then break down that into what components of that do I have, and what components of that am I hoping to gain through an experience? And then, so you have to do some work and some front-end investigation. Like, okay, Dr. Bryant says communication is key, technical know-how is key. What am I doing to build those things? Well, in your history, you're still processing tons of information. It's historical, but you know what we call a chart? We write the first part called the history of present illness. We're historians. We're writing history books all day in medicine. That's what we do, because today it's current, tomorrow it's the history. And so I could see easily translating those skills, but that second question really shows the insight. When you know what and how you define success and what you want to go into, you know, it's that silly, and I'm sure David and Brianna, you asked this question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? That's really, what does success look like in this field? Do you know what will bring you satisfaction, what will bring you success? And then what parts of that do you have? What parts do you need to acquire?
And I would say, I think the specific question had said I think a history major. I would say, don't let that detour you. There are so many different areas within healthcare that you can get into, and the specific degree may or may not actually be required. In HR, or specifically talent acquisition, there's so many folks who did not expect to end up there, but their skills, their passions ended up leading them there. There are certainly those folks that knew it right from the get-go, or did an internship in college and knew, and that's the path they went on. But I mean, I think, Dr. Bryant, your path is your path, and you can get there a lot of different ways. And quite frankly, what you envision as your path right now probably won't be what ends up happening. But you know, we're all along for the ride, and you can kind of take it in the direction you want.
A quick example of outside the box, the highest acceptance rate for medical school applicants is of what degree? Philosophy. You're like, what? Not chemistry, not biology, not microbiology? Philosophy. Followed closely by like a second language as your major. Then you get down to the common ones, biochemistry. And so it's pulling out that communication, pulling out those other skills. And I agree, David, like except for pre-med students, you change your path a lot. That's the heaviest burden, I think, to the pre-med journey is you're all in. You know, med school is $250,000 to $500,000. Like, you're all in. Once you're in. And so there's a little bit of that. I mean, I feel that with my employees, the weight of that decision, like, oh, I'm only 22. Do I really want to commit to the rest of my life? Versus, you know, that's one of the attractions to the PA path is like, I can do cardiology, I can do internal medicine, I can do orthopedics, you know, and where I think, David, in medical devices, there's a lot of room for lateral movement, and even Brianna in nursing care, there's so much lateral movement where the physician side, it's pretty tight. Like, I could retrain, but I'm an emergency physician. This is what I do.
Excellent. These are all rich, like, examples. And I think something that comes up for me is just that self-awareness, and how knowing yourself will help you feel confident in what you want to do with your career. And that could be taking that gap year or two to, you know, to work a couple of years before you invest that time and money in that, and, you know, in that medical degree. There's another question here. I think we somewhat answered it, but if another person wants to respond to this, but, you know, for a student said, you know, for many positions, I've ran into issues with not having necessary experience to apply for a job I really want. As an employer, how would you suggest a student approach this situation? Since, you know, if you apply to a position to get experience, you may not get it. So just maybe advice on what experiences. And I think, Brianna, you kind of hit on that too, is just taking that one experience you had and how does that connect to that future opportunity. But anything else you would add to this question?
I would say work at ACR. No, seriously. I'm sure the same would be for David and Michael as well. At ACR, we love to give people the opportunity to get their feet wet in the realm of healthcare and starting in an entry-level job. And not just anyone, do your research on the different companies and know that you're spending your time with a company of value that is going to give you transferable skills is super, super important. Don't discount yourself if someone rejects you from a particular role, and just keep going. The people that are most successful in sales or marketing or things like that are people that they're not deterred by a no, and they just keep going until they get the yes that they need. And I would say do the same thing for yourself. Market yourself, don't sell yourself short, and find a company that supports you and your career goals, and find a company that's willing to give people the experience that they desperately need to get into those careers. So just keep trying. I know it can be frustrating or it can feel personally draining, but there are companies like all of ours that would love to have students that are interested in healthcare and teach you how to be a really great potential provider someday, or nursing student, or physical therapist, or whatever it might be that you end up going into.
Yeah,
I can
thank
say
you.
that
Yeah.
there's kind of two things.
go ahead.
Networking is big to help get knowledge of those different organizations that you might be interested in, and then learning what those skills are that you need, as Brianna said, to build those up to kind of get to that point. And it doesn't have to be a direct line to that job. You can get those skills in a variety of different ways, through part-time jobs or volunteerism. But I think the networking can really pay big dividends too.
Don't look for someone to give it to you. Go get it.
Yeah, and getting
know what
that
I mean?
feedback on your materials too. It could be that you maybe just need to customize some of them and tailor your materials, like your resume, your cover letter. So that's usually, if you find that you're not getting, interviews, maybe, take a look, get some feedback on your materials. I know I want to be mindful of time. I do want to get to this question because I think it really speaks to what our topic is today. And then for our participants, we can provide you with the emails of our panelists today if you have specific questions for our panelists. So last question I have here is, what are some trends in the healthcare and science or upcoming changes that you are seeing?
People not going to medical school and going to PA school. People going to nurse practitioner school. My brother is 13 years younger than me, and the difference in medical school cost doubled, more than doubled in that time. It was something like $22,000 a year, and it was $80,000 at his private medical school. And so people want a shorter course to the bedside. They want really less commitment to their work and more balance. And so the trend I see is more physician leadership of healthcare teams versus necessarily providing the care. So it's almost a management position to some degree, where you're overseeing multiple people. So I think that's a trend. And then the other trend is people challenging medicine, empowered by their 15-minute Google search. They have Dr. Google MD, and so that's what I see in healthcare right now. And you can be frustrated by it, or you can, like, I try to embrace it. I'm really excited that you want to learn about this. But those are two trends that I see right now.
I think just in HR, so I taking a different approach. So most of the roles that I work with are a lot of them just are not in specific medicine, but what I see a lot is flexibility in the workplace is a big
Huge.
And so there's a lot of that, where each and every role that we fill now, we have to consider, do they really need to be in office or in this city, in this state? And so to the level that we've never had to do that before. And I think that's just one really big shift that we're seeing now.
Interesting.
I don't have too much to add, but I was actually going to say work-life balance as well. It's been huge. We've modified at ACR Homes the way that we offer shifts, knowing that students have a lot of demands. So even at an entry-level position, we're trying to offer more flexibility to people. And then in our supervisory roles as well, we're seeing people not, and this, for the good or for the bad, people not wanting to take on the same level of work that previous generations did. And so companies are morphing to try to figure out work-life balance for people, for sure.
Well, thank you. And you know, and that wraps up our conversation today. I wish we could keep this going. I mean, we can go on for hours about this topic, but I do invite our attendees to reach out to our panelists. They're open to sharing their emails if you want to get connected. And I'm also available too. I work with healthcare, pre-health students in my role as a career counselor as well. And so, yeah, thank you, panelists. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Thanks, Malena.
Thanks. Bye.